Hello everyone, I'm Meta the Pyrosaniac, and welcome to Thief Gold. This is a re-release of the Dark Project, which came out in 1999, while the original came out in 1998, so 15 and 16 years ago respectively. I first played this game back around 2005 at a friend's house, and I finally played through the entire thing last year. If you're interested, it's $7 on Steam right now. A link is in the description. A few notes before I start, I will be playing on Expert, which is new for me as I've only ever played on Hard, so I expect this playthrough to be difficult, to say the least. Second, I do have one mod installed, which allows me to play in full HD, view the cutscenes, fixes some UI problems, and basically allows me to actually play the game on Windows 7. The mod also includes some higher resolution textures, so that's just an added bonus. Without further ado, here is Thief: The Quest for Gold.
I have a simple job planned for this evening. Break into a guarded mansion, steal another fat nobleman's priceless trinket, and leave quietly. Lord Bafford is out of town, and rumor has it that the captain of his house guard went with him as a bodyguard. The time is ripe for a bit of burglary. The front gate of Lord Bafford's manor is always guarded, and the main street is far too exposed. But Cuddy tells me there's a better way in, around to the side, more out of the way. One guard, and likely no witnesses to complicate matters. The piece Cuddy wants is a sceptre, silver, jewels, the usual adornments. It should command a high price. Bafford, like most of his kind, probably keeps his treasures on the top floor of the place, close to his heart, and far from his servants. No point in waiting. I have Cuddy's old sketches of the place, and everyone who's going to be asleep inside already is. It's time to begin.
Great, I thought to myself as I walked down the alleyway. Some more noblemen are having a party. Fortunately for them, they're not the ones I'm acquiring from today.
A few too many to try to get by here.
I've been given a tip that a lord known as Baffer has a rather scrumptious jeweled scepter. I would very much like to transfer its ownership to myself. I encountered a peasant on my way to the mansion. Lucky him, most don't usually get to see my work clothes. Cuddy gave me a tip that there's an arrow cache on my route into the mansion. Hopefully I won't be needing them, but you never know, they might come in handy. I guess I should probably introduce myself. My name is Garrett, Master Thief. Shadows and silence are my allies. Light is my enemy. Stealth and cunning are my tools. And the riches of others are mine for the taking. Much like this arrow cache that someone just so happened to leave right in the middle of the street. Great job, Cuddy. Great job. I looked around the corner to peek at any guards who might be wandering around. Luckily for me, there wasn't any. Seems this Bafford character isn't actually all that intelligent. Putting the majority of your guard forces in one entrance isn't necessarily a great idea. Especially when one such as myself has access to other routes. Mainly this disgusting and dank sewer. Man, it's gross. Water is loud. Luckily for me, no one's around here to listen to it. Hopefully. On the safe side, it's some checking. Never know. There might be a bug or something that has an affinity for ratting out on guards. Can't be too safe. I entered a suspicious-looking room with a suspicious-looking handle, and despite all my warnings, my mother told me I pulled the handle and nothing appeared to happen. For my disobedience, I was rewarded with a nice shiny gold necklace. I opened the door, which for some reason I decided to close, not entirely sure why, and I peeked my head around the corridor to see that the gate which had been blocking my passage had actually opened, which is nice to say the least. While I continued down the sewer, which I assume was dug by a giant worm, I came across a friendly-looking ladder which I eagerly climbed. According to Cuddy's map, there is a well house here with only one guard. Once again, I find myself questioning the planning ability of this Lord Bafford. As I exited the smell pit, I came across a lovely sight which appeared to be a guard. Solitary, as expected. Thank you, Cuddy. Seems like you can do something right for once. He appears to be enjoying himself on a rather quiet night, which fortunately for me makes my job all the easier.
Could you possibly be any more?
Having heard enough of this guard's rambling, I decided to sneak up behind him with my friendship bat. Unfortunately, the happiness seemed to be too much for him, and I had to pick him up and hide him in a dark corner before anyone found out. After I dropped my new best friend off, I came across his actual friend, who appeared to be doing his actual job. Luckily for me, I happened to be hidden behind a well house which actually had no reason to be guarded in the first place. As the actual friend darted behind a corner, I came back to the front of the well house and discovered my new best friend's bottles, which he carelessly left at the front of the door. Not wanting my new best friend to get in trouble, I decided to take the bottles and throw them down to the sewer. Unfortunately, the friendly lad decided he wanted to have a drink too and caught in midair. I told the friendly lad that couldn't be possible as he was an inanimate object and therefore could not drink. When he realized his folly, he quickly shut his trapdoor. I sifted through my pockets to find a present that my new best friend had given me, a nice key. Unfortunately, I seemed to be fumbling with the key, which is not exactly acceptable for a man of my caliber. After I closed the door, not knowing exactly what to expect in the well house, I found to my surprise a well which seemed to be quite deep. As there seemed to be no other options other than the garden-infested front door, I took my chances. I exited the fun stream into what I can only assume to be the back entrance of Lord Bafford's mansion, which is oddly convenient.
Inside at last.
I soon discovered that Lord Bafford had an affinity for keeping pirates locked instead of barrels. Not wanting to be left out of what I assumed to be a splendid experience, I quickly checked behind some nearby crates hoping to find my own barrel of fun. Unfortunately for me, much like puppies, unicorns, and rainbows, that kind of happiness only occurs inside of fairy tales. Seconds later, a couple of guards interrupted my moment of realism.
What do you mean? What's wrong with us? Well, we're fine. But I've been thinking we should watch the outsides. That's stupid. People to worry about there on the inside. No, then you catch them before they get inside, you taffer. Oh!
Perhaps the guards should start taking their own advice. It's not exactly difficult to get inside. In fact, why have people guard the outside of your house? Why not have something more ominous like a three-headed dragon, or perhaps a chimera, or maybe a giant dog, or perhaps a ring of fire, or a moat, or alligators, or crocodiles, or anything slightly more intimidating than the man who is currently lurching forward in front of me with the speed that would allow a snail to do laps around him in a 100-meter dash. Weighing my options, I decided to scurry like a mouse into a nearby darkroom whilst I waited for the slowest man on earth to finally pass me. Years later, I was awoken from my slumber by the sound of footsteps the guard had finally passed. As I continued down the hallway, I passed the third empty room, this time with a light. Begs the question, what on earth could one man possibly need 3 large empty rooms for? Whatever the case, I made my way to the kitchen and discovered, to my horror, a servant with his back turned to me. I wanted to make a big deal of things. I decided I would stealthily close the door and take out my friendship baton. As I got closer to the man, I began to wonder about the mysteries of the universe, which could perhaps explain about what is about to happen. Brilliant stealthy on my part. After disposing of the servant in a corner, I decided I would take it upon myself to take a light snack before I continued my work. Never a thief on an empty stomach. I noticed Cuddy had left me some interesting notes in the margins of the map. As I continued my trek through the mansion, I discovered yet another inconspicuous lever. I pulled the lever only to discover that it opened yet another gate. This would be useful in the future as it will provide me an easy exit from the mansion. I seen myself in a north-facing room only to discover a guard walking down a corridor behind a wall. Not wanting to make myself visible, I quickly hid in the corner whilst I waited for the guard to pass.
Seems clear enough now.
I decided it was in the guard's best interest to also give him a swift beating with my friendship. Once again, the friendship proved too much for him and he collapsed in a heap. There's another guard ahead of me who appeared to be a sniper. Not entirely sure why he was stationed inside of a building, but if that's what you want to do, then I can't really complain, can I? Luckily for me, the crackling fireplace is a perfect muffler for sounds, as this sniper did not even seem to notice me as I took down his friend. Upon approaching the second guard, I happened to notice a guard tower inside of a building, which is even more suspicious than an indoor sniper. Not wanting to be seen by the sniper spotter, I decided it was in my best interest to retreat and head up to a second floor. As it turned out, the second floor is where the guards had their accommodations. As a way of saying thanks to all the guards for allowing me to be able to steal all Lord Bafford's stuff, I decided I would take some of their stuff too. A few minutes later, I found myself on the ground floor trekking along a carpetway when I saw a guard in the corner of my vision. Unfortunately for me, he saw the slightest shadow and became instantly suspicious of my whereabouts. Not wanting to be caught, I decided to retreat backwards and take out the lamp to my side. However, as it turned out, that lamp had a glass enclosure around it. Therefore, I could not put it out with one of my prized water arrows. I peeked around the corner to see if the guard was finally going to enter the room which I was just in. Eventually, he decided he would with his sword drawn. I decided I would try to be stealthy and whomp him with his back turned. However, moments later, another guard opened the door behind me. Instantly aware of my terrible hiding spot in the doorway, I decided I would make a break for it and attempt to lose the guard. Unfortunately, the guards were too fast for me and I had to resort to a physical engagement. Remembering the keeper's teachings of "thou shalt not kill," I repeatedly hit the guards with my friendship baton in the vain effort that they would perhaps fall unconscious after meeting the blunt end of my passable physical prowess. After shoving the bodies in a corner, I continued on my way. After reaching the top floor, I soon discovered an unknowing guard who I nonchalantly picked a key from. A few moments later, after fumbling with my pockets, I soon discovered yet another guard was approaching my position. Freaking out, I decided he deserved a quick whack with my blackjack. After combing the upstairs and disposing of yet another guard, I followed Cuddy's map to the north end of the mansion. At first, the door would not open, but after trying the influence of the guard's key, the door opened without a hitch. Quickly ducking in, I secretly hoped that this room would perhaps be filled with puppies and unicorns instead of the usual guard. My fearless desires were partially met when I discovered there was but a single guard in the room. Fortunately for me, one guard is about as threatening as a fluffy couch cushion. Displaying a phenomenal sense of awareness, this guard somehow managed to detect my presence prior to me entering the chamber he was stationed in. After experiencing this prowess, I have little doubt as to why this man is guarding Bafford's most prized possessions. However, there is only so much one guard can do. In a display of cunning, I snuck around to the guard's flank in an attempt to catch him off guard. Unfortunately for me, this guard once again displayed an abnormal awareness and sensed me before I even reached his position. Although I could easily have taken him in a fight, I still did not want to give away my position in case I alerted other guards. Although the guard's hearing is a little bit above average, his sight appears to be a bit below par. Completely missing me in my dark corner, I managed to actually sneak up behind the guard and get a whack at him with my friendship baton. Upon noticing me, this guard quickly ran to a gong, which for some reason he ran with his sword. Luckily for me, this did nothing and he quickly passed out due to his failure. After waiting a few moments for the gong's ringing to finally stop, I soon realized that I had in fact taken out all of the guards, so there was no possible way for the guards to actually come in for reinforcements.
It's a throne room. How pretentious can you get?
After taking the scepter, I reflected upon my activities.
Here we go.
I believe I learned an invaluable lesson today. Always come prepared. By removing the guards prior to entering the throne room, the threat of the gong was mute. Instead of entering what I assumed to be a particularly nasty fight, I was able to waltz out of Bafford's manor with rather heavy pockets and a reinforced sense of self-esteem. Now off to find Cuddy for my reward.